We arrived in Madrid expecting grand architecture, world famous museums, and plenty of history, but first we had to catch a ride into the city. While Madrid certainly has all those things, that is not what stood out for us the most during our 5 days here. What surprised us was how quickly we settled into the rhythm of the city. The fact that it is so walkable and has nice neighborhoods, not to mention how good the food is. Madrid slowly won us over in ways we weren't expecting. Over these 5 days, we explored Madrid one neighborhood at a time to see what makes Spain's capital so appealing, and whether it's a city we'd like to return to someday. Welcome, we're Dharmesh and Kiran, slow travelers who retired early to explore the world at our own pace, hoping to share our journey and knowledge to help you do the same. Let's talk about our first impressions. One of our favorite ways to get to know a city is to simply start walking and see what we come across. No detailed plans, no checklists, just exploring and seeing where the streets take us. Madrid felt like the perfect city for that. Within our first few hours, we found ourselves wandering through plazas, residential streets, and neighborhoods that each seemed to have their own personality. One thing that stood out almost immediately was how easy it was to walk around. It is very pedestrian friendly. Even though Madrid is one of Europe's largest capitals, it never felt overwhelming for us. Most days we found ourselves walking far more than we actually planned to without even knowing it, and as full-time travelers, that's usually a good sign. The more we are able to explore the city on foot, the more connected we feel to it. As we continued exploring, we started to understand why so many people seem to love Madrid. One of the first places we visited was Plaza Mayor. It's one of Madrid's most famous landmarks, but what stood out wasn't necessarily the square itself. Don't get us wrong, it is beautiful and has lots of history to it, but it was watching how people were using the space that caught our attention. Families, tourists, locals, and street performers all seemed to be sharing the same space. Now, right outside the plaza is Mercado de San Miguel, one of Madrid's most visited attractions. There is no question it's also very beautiful inside. We must let you know it is a tourist spot and there are crowds for sure. It kind of looks like a glass showcase. The stalls inside, as you can see, have amazing food displays. We thought it was a bit overpriced, so keep in mind it is a tourist trap, in our opinion at least. When we were there, it didn't seem like there were many locals, not a place they go to most likely. After saying all that, the atmosphere is lively, the food looks incredible, and it is easy to see why it's so popular with the visitors. But for us, the real value was simply experiencing the atmosphere and seeing how the market fits into the heart of the city. A must-see. As we continue exploring beyond the market, we started discovering some of the smaller places that would end up becoming highlights for us. We also spent time around Madrid's Royal Palace area, since our accommodation was just behind it. The palace itself is impressive, but the lineups to get in were equally impressive. Since we only had 5 days, we decided to skip the palace interior this time. But if you're interested, you should look into pre-booking tickets. Instead, we visited Almudena Cathedral. Now, we did go through the attached museum at a cost of €8 per person, but this also allowed us to climb up to the dome for some amazing 360-degree views. Be aware you are not allowed to take photos in many of the museum rooms. We also gained access to the cathedral as well. And honestly, this ended up being one of our favorite attractions in Madrid. The cathedral feels surprisingly different from many others we've visited throughout Europe. It's much newer than most people expect, and the colorful interior creates a completely different feel. For us, it was well worth the admission. Now, if you want to enter just the cathedral for a lower fee, you can. They have a separate entrance for that. Beyond seeing the grand plazas and the historic landmarks, we eventually found ourselves doing something we often enjoy most when traveling: exploring through food. One thing we weren't expecting was just how much food would become part of our Madrid experience. Not because we were searching for famous restaurants, but because some of our favorite discoveries happened in simple neighborhood spots we found while exploring the city. It's a good reminder that sometimes the best travel experiences happen just outside the places everyone else is lining up to visit. As we continued exploring Madrid, several people recommended Bar Cruz, and naturally, of course, we had to go try it out. We ordered their fried baby cuttlefish along with a beer and a vermouth. My first time having cuttlefish, and it was fantastic. Crispy, fresh, and exactly the kind of simple dish that doesn't need much explanation from me. We also discovered that vermouth culture is still very much alive in Madrid, so much it's actually served from a tap like beer. Now, full disclosure, only one of us actually enjoyed the vermouth. It goes down surprisingly easy, but you definitely feel it afterwards, right, Kieran? Here's a tip for you. Some places, but not all of them, will give you a small side dish of their choice when you order. We got an amazing plate of mushrooms and we loved them. We actually loved the cuttlefish so much we actually came back a second time. One thing we've noticed throughout Spain is that some of the best meals happen in places that don't look fancy at all. No fancy decor, no gimmicks, just real good food and a lively atmosphere. Another Madrid classic we wanted to try was La Casa del Abuelo, famous for its garlic shrimp. So we stopped in for a plate along with a beer and a glass of wine. It is rich, buttery, there's so much garlic, which was perfect for soaking up with the bread. It's easy to understand why this dish has become a Madrid institution. By this point, we thought we were finished eating for the day, but were we wrong? Of course, no visit to Madrid would be complete without trying churros. Our first stop was at a place called Chocolat, where we tried freshly made churros served with rich hot chocolate. Chocolate actually tasted like it might have some dark chocolate to it, so it wasn't as sweet as we expected, which we liked. Crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, and absolutely delicious. But apparently one churro stop wasn't enough for us. Later in the trip, we visited Churreria Santa Ana to compare. This time, not only did we try the churros, but we also tried the porras. Porras are thicker and fluffier than traditional churros, and after trying both, we could definitely understand why many locals are fans. Madrid is also known for its museums, and the Prado is one of the most important art museums in Europe. We spent several hours exploring it, and even then, we barely scratched the surface. You could easily spend an entire day there. If art interests you, this is absolutely worth your time. But after several hours indoors, we were ready for a different side of Madrid. That's when we headed to Retiro Park, and this might have been the place that surprised us most. It's hard to believe you're still in the middle of a major European capital. People were rowing boats, reading books, exercising, and simply enjoying the day. As full time travelers, we pay attention to spaces like this. We enjoy taking daily walks through parks and seeing locals do their day to day routines. And Retiro felt like the kind of place we'd return to regularly if we lived here. So, after 5 days in Madrid, a few things really stood out to us. First, the city is incredibly walkable. We found ourselves covering far more ground on foot than we expected. We did not take metro once during our time. We stayed central, which definitely helped out with that. And the second thing is that Madrid feels remarkably livable for us. The parks, the neighborhoods, public transportation, and everyday conveniences all seem designed for people who actually live here, not just visiting. Another neighborhood we really enjoyed was the Literary Quarter. It feels calmer than some of Madrid's busier areas, more local, more relaxed. A place where it is easy to spend an afternoon with no particular plans at all. We found ourselves spending more time simply wandering and taking in the atmosphere. We finished the evening walking along Gran Via. If you wanted to do some shopping, this street was for you. During the day, it's very energetic. At night, it takes on an entirely different feel. On our final evening, we headed to Temple of Debod for the sunset. A must do when you're here, and everyone does come out for this. As you can see, it can get busy. By this point, we weren't really chasing attractions anymore. We were simply enjoying being in Madrid. And maybe that's the biggest surprise of all. Madrid isn't a city defined by one landmark. It's a city defined by vibe, a kind of feeling you get. The neighborhoods, the parks, the food, the daily rhythm. Those are the things you'll remember most about visiting Madrid. We came expecting famous landmarks. We left remembering how the city felt. And that's probably the biggest compliment we can give Madrid. If we return to Spain for a longer stay, Madrid would be very high on our short list. Next week, we'll share exactly what these 5 days cost us, including accommodations, food, transportation, and attractions, and whether Madrid fits our full-time travel budget. Thanks for watching, and until next time, let's travel together.